Hi, this is Jerry, Kilo Mike 4, Zulu Kilo Bravo. We're going to try something a little different today. We're going to combine pieces from multiple antennas and make a new antenna. This is going to be a variation on the POTA Performer. I'm going to use parts of the POTA Performer, and I'm going to use parts of the JPC-12 antenna that we recently reviewed in a previous video. When I was looking at this antenna and setting it up and tearing down, I said, this is an awful lot alike to the POTA Performer. I said, we could improve this by combining some of the pieces from each and some of the characteristics, build characteristics from each to make a better antenna. And that's what we're going to try to do today. I'm going to set it up, test it with a NanoVNA, and see what kind of results we can get. Stay with me till the end. Let's find out together. As we saw in the previous video, this JPC-12 is a nice vertical antenna. It's portable, packs up nicely in this carrying pouch, and has some nice features, and it's very tunable. But since the radials are directly on the ground, it doesn't take advantage of having elevated radials like the POTA Performer does. Hopefully you've seen my videos on the POTA Performer, the poor man's version of the POTA Performer, without buying the whip. But those whips are kind of expensive by themselves. But with the JPC-12, you get a whip and you get some extensions. You get the loading coil with the slider on it for tuning, and it combines a lot of nice features in a small package. That plus what we're going to try here today should improve the performance of the antenna by getting those radials decoupled from the ground. Stick with me here. We'll try to get this set up and see how it goes. Now, one thing, you know, the ground stake. Well, we don't want to put this into the ground today because we want the radials to be elevated. So what I've come up with as a possibility, and we'll see how it works, is I had a short piece of PVC in the shop. It's 3 feet, maybe a little taller. I didn't measure it. It was pre-cut this length. And what I intend to do is build the antenna and insert the ground rod down into that to hold it vertically. I've also got some paracord attached. The length of the paracord is approximately 3 times the height of the pipe itself. I didn't think 2 times would be quite enough. It may be, but I cut it 3 times. And I just used a pipe clamp to connect the paracord to it. I put some knots in the end of the paracord so they wouldn't pull out. Let you see this a little better maybe. See what I did, I put some knots in the end of the paracord, and then I just clamped them down at approximately 120 degrees, you know, evenly spaced around the pipe with that. And that should be plenty. I mean, it's not going to be having a lot of strain on it. We just want to keep the pipe vertical. So we're going to try this and see if this will work. I may have to end up putting some kind of a piece of rod or something in the ground. I think I can get away without it, but we'll see. Let's see what it does here. I've also got some tent stakes. You don't have to use tent stakes. You know, whatever you can drive into the ground to attach to, pieces of rebar if you've got rebar laying around, or short pieces of pipe, pieces of conduit, heck, even pieces of PVC, just cut them off and drive them in. Use what you got. Make use of what you got. You don't have to go out and buy something special every time you're building an antenna. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just randomly, I'm going to say the base of the antenna is going to be right here. So I'm going to go out about 6 feet or so, like that, and tap in the first stake. And let's see, we'll go about 6 feet this direction. And I need to get a stake. Can't drive a stake without having a stake. I'll lay that down. That's what I thought was a stake. 1, 2, all right. And no precise measurements here. Just getting them out away from it like that. And then I'll bring one this way. And I know it's further than 6 feet. It don't matter. It's approximation. Now, we got all of our strings here in our pipe. And I'll probably have to adjust the length of these several times. But let's see if I got enough here. I'll just tie it loosely here, because I'm sure it's going to have to be adjusted. Yeah, I need to make it a little shorter. So let's get this other one here towards the camera. We'll get some preliminary links, and we'll have to adjust it like I said. And we got our other one back here. Now the one towards the camera is about the right length. I'm going to push this in the ground about a 1/2 inch or 1 inch, whatever it takes. And just to get an idea, yes, I think this will work. You're seeing experimentation on the fly, because this was just from a concept that I had, and we'll adjust it as necessary. It's looking better all the time. Okay. Need to move the base a little bit to make it vertical. Okay. That's fairly tight. And let's see what it does. Hopefully I won't trip over that before the video is over. Okay, you know, in the intended installation, you know, you put it together like this. This is where the coax goes. Got your ground stake, and this will go into the ground. What I intend to do is put it just like that. That way, it's decoupled from the ground. There's no ground connection whatsoever. I think that may work. It's I haven't even done a final adjustment on these things, and I think it's going to work. Hope I'm not jumping the gun here. We'll go ahead and get the 4 extensions out. And one thing I've thought of that maybe a minor inconvenience, I don't really think it's much, but it's just that, you know, once this antenna is assembled, the actual whip is going to be so high in the air that you can't adjust it while it's here. But all you got to do is pick it up, put it on the ground, adjust it, and put it back. Might take an extra couple of seconds, but I've got to go ahead and put the slider on here as well. And again, the most time will be in the initial installation and tuning. And like I suggested in the previous video, you either need to mark or keep track of where your slider position is on the coil for each band. You know, as we talked about, it's got the slider here. You need to slide it where the point of contact of the slider is only resting on one coil. So you keep track of that, where your different bands are, and also whether or not you even have to have the coil. The coil is primarily for 40 and 20, 30 if you operate 30, 40, 30, 20, and maybe 17. So we'll see how it tunes up once we get the elevated radials installed here. It may tune differently than it did when we weren't using the elevated radials. Because we got to have the male to screw into the piece with the SO239 connector. Yeah, I think that's going to work. Okay, got a little jump in the continuity there. I found out after about 10 minutes of work, my memory card on my camera had filled up and quit recording. So, what we've got so far is the antenna is completely assembled now. I've also attached the radials to the base of the antenna here at the ground stake, just like you would if you stick it in the ground. But we're isolating it from the ground by putting it into this PVC pipe. And we're going to use these radials elevated like the poor man's POTA Performer. And what I've done is I've got the radials. we've got two pair of radials. And if you can get it hung on something, you will. And I've just stripped the insulation off the ends of the radials and crimped on some bullet connectors, because we have to make electrical connection to these to extend them further out so they'll be resonant on 40 meters, because this antenna is originally designed for 20 meters. So we've got to get it resonant for 40. So what I'm connecting are my radials, the exact same radials that I use with the poor man's POTA Performer, the linked radials. This set here is strictly for 40 meters. If we go above 40 meters, then we'll remove this set and retune, because we don't need a longer set of radials. So I'm going to use the Mueller clip on my poor man's Performer radials and connect here. Okay, so we've got the elevated radials going this way, and they're going to be spaced at 90 degrees, or as close as I can approximate, since I don't have a protractor out here or a compass. And I'm going to connect these over here on this side the same way, and in just a minute I'll show you the entire radial so you can see what we've got here. Okay, so what we've got the radial from the poor man's POTA Performer here in its full length, and when it's full length, it's tuned for 20 meters. Well, the radial that comes with the JPC-12 is also a 20 meter radial, so now both of them connected together should be tuned for 40 meters. So that's what we're going to tune up on first. I've just got to connect my coax, and then we can go back and sit in the beast and see what it tunes up as on the NanoVNA. Okay, we're in the beast now and got the NanoVNA hooked up. Let's see how close we are to a good tune on the 40 meter band. I haven't done anything except set the slider. I've extended the whip all the way. The slider was set on the lower red mark. I don't know how close that's going to be, so let's find out. Okay, I've got it on the 1 to 30 megahertz sweep. You can see 1 megahertz here, 30 megahertz here, and we have a very sharp dip, but it's at 6.872 megahertz. So at this point, the antenna is a little long, or we can move the slider up 1 ring and see what we can do there. So let's go move that slider. Okay, I've adjusted the slider 1 ring up, and it has changed our frequency where the dip is. We're now at 7.017. So we're getting in that 40 meter band. So I'm going to change and recall the 40 meter band, and we can see the start of the dip right there. And I'm scanning here from 7.125 to 7.3. So let's make one more adjustment on the slider on the coil, and I think we should be golden. So let's see what it does. Okay, that's definitely a step in the right direction. We've got the lowest point right now at 7.125. So it may take 1 or 2 more coils out of it, and it's not hard to change that coil. And I'm going to turn the camera around and let you see just how easy that is. At least I think it is. It's no big deal. And like I say, this should be a one-time thing. Once you've determined what the tune is for each band, record it, and you can easily duplicate it the next time you set up the antenna. This is a one-time deal. This is tuning the first time, and this is the same kind of tuning you have to do whether it's configured as the original JPC-12 or whether you're configuring it as a POTA Performer JPC-12. So let's see the process here. Just gonna walk over and just lift that out of the pipe, bring it down. I'm gonna go 2. That's 2 coils higher than what it was. Insert it back into the pipe. That's it. Easy adjustment, in my opinion. I don't see it being any more difficult than the original. And it looks like I overcompensated. Still scanning 7.125 to 7.3. Need to lower it back down where it's just 3 coils above the mark on the red mark on the lower portion of the coil. So I'm going to go change that back, drop it down 1 coil, and then I think we'll be good. Yeah, that pretty much took care of it. We're 3 coils above the red mark. Our resonant frequency there, where we've got the lowest SWR, is 7.228. Depending on whether you're working CW or sideband, this would probably be a good setting for sideband. If you wanted to work CW, I'd drop it down to 2 coils above the red line. This is going to work here for 40. Now what we're going to do is convert it for 20. Okay, for 20, we're not going to need the element that came with the antenna. So I'm going to take it off. I'm going to move this one to the antenna, and this will allow us to tune for 20 and higher. So I'm going to take this up here, see how, it's, like I said, about the right length. I'm going to clip it on to the outer conductor of the PL259, the shield there. I'm going to raise this up, take off the factory radials, put the ground rod back in, because that's what's holding it vertical in this pipe. It's not serving as a ground, just serving as a support. So now we've got the antenna with just one of the two POTA Performer radials. Let's move the other one up. Put that in the ground. And it needs to be just a tad closer, about a foot closer. Now we've got the POTA Performer radials connected to the antenna at 90-degree angles. And we're still set for 40 on the loading coil. So let's pull it down and slide it up. We'll start on the red mark. It's on the 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 coil from the top. That's the factory mark for 20 meters. I think we're going to find we're going to need to go a couple of coils above that, but we'll see. I'm going to move this one out, get this radial stretched just a little bit tighter. Now that we've got them both in the ground. Whoa. It must be on a root. There. There. Now I've got the two radials set up like a POTA Performer. Okay, we're back on the NanoVNA and scanning 1 to 30 to find out where the dip is, where we've set it up initially. And we'll move the cursor over. And again, it's got a real sharp dip. All right, and that's 14,340. 14,340, so that's saying it's a little bit short. A little bit short, so we can move the slider back down 1 ring. So let's do that. I haven't adjusted the whip at all. The whip is still at full extension. So let's see what happens if we move the slider down 1 ring. What we'll do, we'll go over to the 14 megahertz scan, the 20 meter scan, and gee, it's pretty good where it is. Look at that. It's it's at 1.332 down at 14,150, and let's see what it is up here at 14,350. 1.09, so less than 1.1. I'm not going to mess with it. So the standard marking, the red mark for the 20 meter band, it is good. I don't think we have to adjust it any further. So that's with the whip fully extended for both bands, 40 and 20, and we've got very good SWR. No problem there. So let's go on up to 17 meters and see what she does there. Okay, we're tuned flat across the 17 meter band at approximately 1.22 SWR. I would say that works. And how I achieved that is I removed one of the black sections, and I got the loading coil two coils above the top red line. So we got 2 coils above the top red line, and I collapsed the bottom section all but about 4 or 5 inches. So most of the whip is extended. It's only the bottom 4 or 5 inches of the bottom section that I have collapsed. So that's a fantastic tune on 17 meters. So, you know, there's more than one way you can achieve this same result, I'm sure. This is the first one I found. It's a good one, so I'm running with it. I've got the adjustments recorded here where I've got them done. It's just handwritten because my memory is not going to remember that, so I have to write it down. But you can put this on a card, keep it with your antenna, and when you're in the POTA Performer configuration, you can put it back to these settings quickly to change bands. So, hey, it seems to be working. Let's go on up to the 15 meter band, and we'll shorten it up some more and see what we come out with. Okay, we're tuned for 15 meters now, and it's fantastic. We're down around 1.1 approximately all the way across. It gradually creeps up to 1.2, but 1.1, below 1.1, 1.08 to 1.2 across the 15 meter band. And how I achieved that is I removed the coil. I put all the black sections in, and the whip is fully extended. And of course I adjusted the radials. I moved the non-conducting section of the radial to the 15 meter band position. But man, that's fantastic. Should work great. So let's go to 12 now and see what we can tune there. Okay, got it tuned up for 12 meters, and it is flat across the band, about 1.2 SWR. And of course, I adjusted the radials by moving the non-conductive link. I don't have the coil in it. I've collapsed one section of the whip totally, and all but about 4 inches of the second section. So that's where it tunes up for 12 meters. So we'll go ahead and tune for 10 and see what we can do there. Okay, we're tuned up on 10 meters now, and did this by leaving out the coil like I did for the 15 and 12 meter bands, and still have the coil out. I've got all 4 black sections in. The bottom 3 sections of the whip are collapsed into the base of the whip. So that's where it's coming to tune, and it's pretty flat across the band here, as you can see. And we're scanning from 28.3 to 29.7, and very good curve. Right there, we're at 1.4 SWR, and that's the highest one across the band there. So very good SWR. So we're in good shape. So there it is, This is the JPC-12 POTA Performer. And it works from 40 up to 6. I normally don't tune 6, but we've shown that it's capable. All you have to do is remove probably 2 of those black sections and then adjust the width. You might have to remove 3 of the black sections, but I don't operate, in that band that often, so I'm not going to take the time, but we've shown that this is tunable. This is going to be a good performing antenna because it's got the elevated radials like the POTA Performer, and we're going to be able to take advantage of that front to back ratio where we've got a 3 to 4 dB gain or improvement in signal in between the radials that are spaced 90 degrees apart. It's gonna work just like the other versions of the POTA Performer. And I think this probably be the best way to do this antenna. Of course, it's simpler just to put it on the ground like it comes from the factory, but you're not going to get the same performance. It'll be close. 3 dB is a half of an S unit, so it's not going to be that significant, but when you're in a noisy environment, it might make the difference. Okay, we've done a mashup or a combination of 2 antennas out here, and I think we've made a good combination. I think it's going to work very well. We had made the 40-meter coil for the original poor man's POTA Performer. This takes the place of that because of the adjustable slider coil that comes with the JPC-12. So by combining these 2 antennas, one thing, it eliminates the need to throw a line up in a tree. So if you don't have any trees around, this is one way to do it. Also, I've eliminated the tripod by using a scrap piece of PVC. You need to use a non-conductive pipe like PVC or other rigid plastic pipe if you have it. You could even use a piece of wood here and put some kind of clamps or holders at the top of the wood to hold that ground clamp. But you need to be able to separate it easily for tuning, in my opinion. You may come up with something better than what I've rigged together here. Redneck engineering, whatever you want to call it. Poor man's engineering. Use what you've got. That's basically what I've done. I just went and grabbed some PVC out of the shop that I had left over from another project. I already had tent stakes to make it rigid, and that turned out very well. It's been very good and stable supporting that antenna. Of course, there's no wind, but this is made to be a temporary setup. It's not made to be a permanent installation. This could be used, though, in your backyard for your main antenna. Like I said, this would be a good solution for an HOA antenna. It's not very visible, and also by getting it off the ground a little bit, just those 3 feet or so, will make a difference in your performance. It will change that radiation pattern, and it will get you that 3 to 4 dB front to back ratio, which could make all the difference. So it's relatively easy to set up and take down, and with some clever ways to make it stealthy, by having some other plastic posts that maybe are bird feeders or some type of decorative flagpole or whatever that is allowed. I don't know what your regulations say, but by working within your regulations, that antenna can go up and down in just a matter of a few minutes. And once you get familiar, record your settings so you know where your settings are for each of the bands, and that makes it all the more quicker. You know, it's taken longer during this video because you saw me actually tuning, or you allowed me to do the tuning while making the video, because this is the first time I've put this antenna up together in this configuration. So I had to see one of the combinations that would work. And like I say, with this antenna, you got multiple combinations because you can adjust the coil, you can take out some of those black sections because they're part of the radiator also, and you can take out, or you can adjust the length of the whip, whatever works for you. There's more than one way to get the same electrical length with these pieces. Experiment, find what works for you. I believe you'll be happy with it. This is Jerry, Kilo Mike 4, Zulu Kilo Bravo. Hope you have a blessed day.